So yesterday, we spent the entire day getting the salt out of every nook and crevice of this car. So we did no suspension work yesterday, like we originally intended. Well, besides that, I also came down with something. I don't know what it was, but I was drained. I had zero energy. Just putting the wheels on the car was just like, took everything I had just to put wheels on the cars. So we called it a day after cleaning. Plus we needed the car to finish dripping outside and drying, and then in the evening we brought it back in. So today we are actually going to do some work. So we're going to start with the preparation work first. So right now you see I don't even have the jacks on here. Preparation is first, I'm going to come in here, and in this very nice, tight, comfortable spot, you're going to remove this. This is a, oh, it goes this way. This is a 6mm Allen, and it just unbolts, and you just pull this whole assembly out of the way. Put it away. Don't worry, you can't get these wrong left or right, because the way they're cut on the back side, they only fit on one side. So even if you swapped it with that one, you'd figure it out when you put it back together. Next, there's a super long screw that goes in the bottom of here. It is a T30. This is the screw in question. This is ridiculous. But Porsche was really nice and made us a parts cup right here. This is where I'm putting all my parts. So now that I've got both sides out, all you have to do is you just pull this forward. This is for your subwoofer, if you have a Bose subwoofer. So let me set this up. See if I can, there we go. All right, so we pull that forward till it's out of the hooks, flip it over, and when you flip it over, you disconnect your cable right there, which is pretty easy. Just squeeze these two tabs, and it comes off. Then you can pull your subwoofer out of the car. So let's pull that out. It's not that heavy, it's just big and awkward. For the moment, we're just gonna set it on top of the car here for a second. It's not that heavy. It's got carpet on it, so it's not gonna scratch the car. I'll put it on the table here in a second. I just wanted to get it out of the car and then show you what else is in the car. So next, in the car, you've got the carpet here, and you can just find a spot to pull it. If you've got an interior panel puller, that's great, but I grabbed it from the middle, just put my hands back there, and you can just pull it out. Just don't tear it, it'll come out, you know. It's in tight, but it's flexible. There. Carpet's out. Carpet with the foam insulation. This is why I say don't tear it, because it has foam insulation. You don't want to mess that up. Again, put that on top. Next we're going to do is, there's a lot of dust in here. These little foam blocks, they're just insulation. They're filler pieces. If you take this 13mm, I think it's 13 or 10mm, I can't remember. Take this nut off, you can take this bracket and see it's flexible. You can put it out of the way. You don't need to take that off to pull this off, but you just pull this out of the way. One second. Pull that out of the way. More insulation. There's the top of your rear shock. The reason you want to pull this bracket out of the way is so you can get to this one. Now you can get to it bending it, because I have already in the past, but today we're going to try it the easier way. We're going to try to remove this nut and pull this out of the way. But basically that's our shock. Next step I'm going to do after I put these on the table is we're going to put the jacks on here, jack it up, get the wheels off. And today we're going to start on the front. The reason we're starting on the front is because the front, the only thing we're changing is the springs. We're not changing any control arms, we're not changing any shocks, we're just changing the springs. There's a couple different ways you can do it. You don't have to remove the shock from the car, or you could remove the shock from the car, completely up to you. There's a couple other videos that show you how to change your spring without taking it out of the car. Loosen the lower control arm on the inside part of it, and I'm going to undo the hardware on top. That will allow it to drop down. And I'm not going to, when I drop it down, you'll see, but when I drop it down, I'm not going to drop it all the way down. I'm going to drop it low enough so I can get to that top nut and break that loose. The reason I'm doing that is because this is a 4S, and the access on top for that top nut is not dead center because of the all-wheel drive system. On the two-wheel drive cars, you can just go right to it, I believe. On this car, it's a little finicky. So, but I'll show you that here in a minute. Let's get this thing up in the air. Since we're talking about preparation, let me show you one thing I did also. There's my new Bilstein shocks, by the way. So, in preparation, because I have a lot of parts here that we're going to change, what I did was, so I wouldn't forget, was on each control arm, I put what the torque was that I needed. Now it's upside down, but that one is 118 foot-pounds. 118 foot-pounds on that end. And I wrote it so that when I'm looking at it from under the car or working on it, you would see it. These are simple. These are 81 foot-pounds at all four corners. So if I'm looking at it from this way, it's 81. If I'm looking at it from this way, it's 81. The dog bones are the exact same torque. Trailing arm, the inside is 74. The outside is a 56 foot-pounds. And coffin arms, 74 on that side and 56 on this side. So that way, and I did it on all of them, that way I won't forget what the torque is. Other thing I was going to show you. So I called these tuning forks, and believe you me, they are. Listen. Can you hear that? That's a tuning fork. That is truly a tuning fork. All right, no more BS, and I'm not too motivated to do this job because it's a lot of work, but we're going to do it. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to take the Ducati, let it get some sun. We're going to put it outside. I guess we could put it over there, but we're going to put it outside, get it out of the way, and so I have clear path back and forth to the toolbox because I don't feel like moving the box. I did that before, and I put the box in front of the car. You end up walking back and forth to the box anyways, so it's easier if I just have a clear path. So I'm going to stop dragging my feet and BSing and get to work. All right, let me show you what the front looks like today after we clean all the salt. And that's how it should look. No salt, just cleaned out. That's exactly how it's supposed to look. So this is extended, and you can see how close these two coils are. When we lower the car and this is sitting at ride height, these touch each other. This one, the only reason it doesn't touch this one is because it's wider. So this one sits inside, and while I'm driving, these do hit each other. Besides that, they move on there, but let's see if I can get it to do it. See that? Oh, there's still salt up there. Holy crap, look at all that salt. I didn't see that. We'll get that off. But you see how the spring moves and rotates? It does that while I'm driving, which is not good. The driver's side's worse. Let's go to the driver's side. That's the passenger side, this is the driver's side. So, of course now, because I want it to do it, it's not doing it. But I can hear it when I turn the wheel full tilt, left and right, or while I'm driving along. This spring binds and rotates and knocks and makes noises. Only does it when I'm going to a hard turn, or if I'm go over a fast bump. Otherwise, it's fine. The ride overall is fine, but it's not right, you know. So that's why we're doing OEM springs. Now we're going to work on the front right now because that's the easiest. All we got to do is loosen the hardware up top. This whole thing will lower down, and we're going to loosen these bolts here on the lower control arm. We don't have to take them off, just break them loose, and this will extend down, and you can there's not a lot of tension up there. You can spin that nut off and without a spring compressor, and then you can just, without pulling the strut body out of its arm here, you can just pull the spring off. There's enough space. You can lift the spring out and reinstall the original one. The one thing you do need to do on this car is right here. You need to disconnect this. There's a 10mm on both sides, and that is for, let's see if I get a good view of it. Right there. That little arm right here, this one. That is your headlight adjustment, so it knows how to level your headlights. Disconnect that. You can disconnect your sway bar arm too. It'll just give you more leverage for this to go down. You don't have to disconnect that part, but you do got to disconnect the headlight one, and that's only on the driver's side. On the passenger side, you don't have that. So on the passenger side, you don't have a headlight adjuster. You just got the sway bar link. You just disconnect that thing. Awesome. Oh my God. Look in the car. All right, we've got everything loose that we need to loosen here. Now we're going to go up top and loosen the other stuff. So up here, we're going to disconnect your PASM cable, which is right here. Put that here. You can use a screwdriver, but I like to try to get it off my finger first because it's plastic and it's delicate. So that's off. You pull the cover off here. You can put this wherever you want, just don't lose it. And see, this is the problem with the 4S. So you see where the nut is and the angle? You can't get that nut loose. You have to lower the assembly, basically pull the strut out of the car to get that nut off. On the rear, and that's on the front, on the rear you don't have that issue. On the rear, the nut is dead center. See? Now, I'm not 100% sure that this is only the 4S, but from what I've been told, this is being this far forward is a 4S feature. Let's not call it a defect, let's call it a feature, because that's what it is. It's a feature. So what we're gonna do is I can mark these up. I don't know who left tape up here. I can mark these up where they are now, so I put it back where it needs to be. But honestly, it really needs to go here. See the inside line? That's where it was when I first bought the car. That's pretty much where it needs to go. So I'm gonna use torque strap, and I'm gonna put a line here because this is black, so if I use a Sharpie, you're not gonna see it. And I don't have white paint, and I don't think I have any more of this tape. This tape actually works really well. I don't know who, I think this tape was from the last time it got aligned by the shop guys. It's usually what I do too. But I'm gonna see if I have tape. If I don't have tape, I'm gonna put torque stripe on here just so I know where these were originally. And they probably though need to go to the inside. Well, I found some tape. So now that I found the tape, I'm gonna break these loose. I'm not gonna pull them all the way out though. I just want it to drop down or get loose so we can move the strut around so I can get this top nut off. So let's break this loose. All right. All right, what I did was
I put just the inside bolt because it comes up first. Just the inside bolt on there, held it on there so that the nut strut mount on the top wasn't turning. Then I put a torque wrench on here and broke it loose. I forgot my adapter. Now that I broke the torque, I should be able to use this impact to spin it off. Let's see. And this is the most important piece right here, this cable. Please be careful with this cable. Yep, it's coming. See how the cable twists? You got to be careful with that. You don't want to yank it out or bend it or pinch it. Almost out. It's out. It's out. When it spins real quick like that, it's done. Now you can pull the nut off from here, but you can't pull the, actually I'm just gonna leave it on. You can pull the nut out, but there's a washer there you cannot pull out. But I'm gonna pull this one off, and then we can drop that down. While we're here though, let me show you, I have a jack underneath. So let me show you what I was talking about, the coils. Let me jack this thing up. All right, check this out. I'm gonna jack it up here. You're gonna see how it sits at ride height. So this is ride height. See how these two are sitting on top of each other? See, imagine this one comes down, it barely fits in there. And if you're looking from the fender, you can't even see this. So I don't think they're supposed to sit on each other like that. And watch how much it extends when I lower it. I mean, that's significant. Of course, I've still got the strut disconnected up top, but still, that's a lot. All right, what's up, everybody? So, first of all, that sound like craps because I got COVID. I do have my vaccines and my shots, so it just feels like a mild flu, but it still makes you feel crappy. I did start to record an entire video of what I was gonna do with this car, but it turned out to be a pain in the butt. So the other side I already put the wheels on so you can't see, but I'm gonna show you on this side. So on the front, what we did is we reinstalled the OEM springs. The control arms you already know were new. We backed them off, installed everything, got to ride height, retorqued it. This is all good to go. The only thing it needs is front alignment. One thing I did do while really by mistake, the driver's side, I was done in 30 minutes. Passenger side fought me. It did not, I could not get the damn thing, the suspension down low enough, and compressing the spring, it was just a pain. So this isn't a DIY. If you want to see a DIY, go to FCP Euro on YouTube. They've got a very good detailed FYI. But there's one part I need to share with you. For all of us all-wheel drive people, you're supposed to remove your axle and your CV. The reason is, on the FCP Euro video, they pull this strut out below the fender and out. And when you do that, you'll do what I did on the passenger side, not on this side. I pulled the axle straight out of the spline. Back there, can you see back there where, see if I can zoom in. All right, back in there. Actually, I've got a picture of it. I'm gonna put the picture right here, right above me right now. So if you look at the picture, if you're looking at it, you see I was able to get the spline back in, but I could not get the bearing race side of it, I don't know what you call that, back in by hand that night. And I figured, call it a night. Plus I was sick, I was feeling like crap, call it a night. Watch some videos online and look at this picture again. I'm gonna put the picture up there again. There's a sub brace right there. I was able by hand be able to line up the spline, and then using the sub brace and a pry bar, I was able to get it to slide back in place and hear a very solid positive lock. So I relocked it back in place, and I've moved the wheel around and everything moves. The differential moves front and back. All the wheels turn. It's or at least the front wheels turn, whatever. but it's working. It looks like it's working like it's supposed to. We won't know 100% for sure until we get this on the ground, which is in a few short minutes. So that's the front. The back, this is the one that took forever. Not because it was too hard. Everything's easy access, but brand new Bilstein shocks, OEM springs, brand new control arms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 control arms per side. So one thing that you have to pay attention to on my car, see this leg right here? It's a long version of what I have on the front. So you have to transfer that little plastic piece to the next coffin arm. Be careful not to break it. If you look at it, it has a center pin and it's all plastic, so you gotta be really gentle. If you tap out the center pin through from the bottom side up, it'll pop up like when the turkey's done for cooking. You can pop it up, and then you can take like a little, 8mm socket or something and just tap it and it'll pop right out. And then you can transfer it and you don't break anything. If you're not careful, you will break it. If you break it, it's not a big deal, because you can just use like a screw and 2 8 or 10mm nuts to hold it in place and keep riding until you buy another plastic piece. Because you can access it very easily once you take the wheel off, or if you have it up high enough in the air, you don't have to take the wheel off, you can get to it. So that's that. This side, the coffin arm on this end down here, right here, was seized. It's completely corroded in. Would not come off. Excuse me. It wouldn't come off at all. I had to pull off the brake rotor, the caliper, pull off the brake dust shield, and then I was able to access it from this side and work it with the pickle fork, work it all the way around, and finally, and it still wouldn't come down. But I got it out enough that, actually, I take it back, the pickle fork didn't work. What I ended up using was a ball joint separator. I was able to, so what I did was I took this coffin arm, because I disconnected it from that end too, and swung it out this way, so then I could put the ball joint separator on this side. I had basically right here I had none of these connected, and just that coffin arm swung out the opposite way because I had the brake rotor off, and I was able to go from the inside and put that tool. Let me show you the tool I'm talking about. I was able to put that on there and pop it off, and boy, when it came off, it came off. This is the tool I'm talking about. I was able to stick this in from the inside out and use it that way. Yeah. So besides that, it's straightforward. I still haven't reinstalled the Bose. I removed the Bose subwoofer. There's the top of the struts, and I haven't reinstalled anything yet from that end. I'm exhausted, and this car has actually slept on these quick jacks for 3 nights. So the other thing I did, I recorded in the video, but I didn't show it. But you see these numbers here on every control arm. I wrote down what the torque was going to be, so that when I compressed this to ride height, I just went around and torqued everything that needed to be torqued at one shot. It was exhausting, but I did it. The only thing that didn't get fully torqued were those, that one and that one, because those are for your alignment, so they're going to break them loose anyways. But when they do, let me get under here, I'll show you. When they go do alignment, look what I wrote on there. 74 foot-pounds. So they don't even have to look up the torque. The other thing I had to do was drop this cover, because you have to see this scoop right there. You got to remove the scoop that's under this cover, and that duct sends air to your rear brake. So you have to remove this carbo, which is like a composite material, and you got to be careful not to break that thing. That wasn't that hard. It came off pretty easy. Is there anything else? No, I mean, other than that, it's straightforward. I took off the sway bar completely just to get it out of the way. It's a 13mm top and bottom, and then the link here is a You just put a T27, I think, and a 16 millimeter, and just pull it off and throw it on the ground, get it out of your way. And that's it. And that's what I've been doing. Besides having COVID and feeling sick, that's what I've been doing the last couple days. So the car should ride smooth as hell. Now, the front shocks were replaced less than a year ago. Actually, when I went on the road trip, the front shocks probably only had 1,000 miles on, maybe 2,000 at the most, if that. The rear shocks, brand spanking new. I did have one problem. When I got one of the rear shocks, it was a little oily, but just out of precaution, FCP Euro sent me another shock next day. Got it, installed it today. I do have a set of H&R springs. If anybody's interested in H&R springs, hit me up, DM me. Just pay the shipping. You can have them. I loved the stance, but I didn't like when they settled, the harshness on rough roads and the binding. I didn't like that at all, especially the bottom two coils. The bottom two coils on the front. The rear coil seems like the spring rate and the coils were good. The front, the bottom two coils would sit on each other. And when you go over rapid short bumps, they go ting, 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 ting. And the upper strut mount, the bottom of my upper strut mount was hitting the spacer because it was bottoming out because of the springs are soft to give you a nice compliant ride. And they do, if the roads are nice, it's really nice. Like on the freeway or on a nice road, they are super comfortable and I love them. But when the road was rough, yeah, I prefer the OEM springs to that. That's the only reason I took them off. So the car's suspension-wise, full refresh. Getting alignment, and I suspect the car's going to drive like a dream. I think it's going to ride super smooth, at least for a while. As far as modifying the suspension, would I do it again? Yes, I would, but not with H&R springs. I'd go full coilovers. I know it's more money, but you get what you pay for. The H&R springs are quality. I'm not saying they're not, but they're not that expensive. A coilover kit costs a pretty decent amount, whether you would go with Bilstein, Öhlins, or whatever, but you're going to get a superb ride and have that lowered stance without losing any ride comfort. So and potentially, depending on what you get, it'll be fully adjustable as well too. So if I did it again, I would do coilovers. I wouldn't do Bilstein, just for not even for the money, but for the simple fact of the back and forth of doing this stuff. So let me get the wheels on this side. Let's turn on the car and let's hope we don't get a PASM failure, because that happened before.